As we know, back in 1984, the government of India decided to celebrate Swami Vivekananda's birthday as National Youth Day. And National Youth Day was celebrated for the first time in 1985. Ever since then, the Youth Day is being celebrated actively throughout the world as it is a great way to evoke the eternal energy of the youth and motivate them, which will result in the prosperity of the nation as a whole. The day is celebrated in honor of Swami Vivekananda, who we know is one of the greatest philosophers and spiritual leaders on his birth anniversary. The government of India believes that the philosophy of Swamiji and the ideals for which he lived and worked could be a great source of inspiration for the Indian youth. Before we move on, I would like someone to volunteer and tell us what the theme for National Youth Day of 2022 is. Anyone? Is there no one?
It's all in the mind.
Not really. 2022. Anyone else? Okay, that's all right. So the theme for National Youth Day 2022, that's today, is It's All in the Mind. A key teaching of Swami Vivekananda: whatever you think that you will be, if you think yourself weak, weak you will be. If you think yourself strong, strong you will be. The teachings of Swami Vivekananda have been inspiring generations, especially the youth over the world. I'm not getting into the details and making the session look mundane. So, as we know, Ayudha Amritapuri is presenting today Uthistha Jagratha, a discourse on Swami Vivekananda's lectures from Colombo to Almora. So, we have joined here to have a discussion and share our perspective of the respective topics. But before we move on, anything good starts with an invocation to the God Almighty. Let us start the event with the prayer. ध्यायामो धवलावकुण्ठनवती तेजोमयी नये स्निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनी भगवती मन्दस्मिनी वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणी सुमधुरम् संकीर्तनालापिनी श्यामाङ्गी मधुसिक्तसूक्तम् अमृतानन्दात्मिकामेश्वरी. So, before we move forward, I would like to add on a personal note. Swami Vivekananda, as we know, had a very strong belief that the youth can transform the fate of India through their dedication and hard work. This message to the youth was, I think you must have heard this, but I can't stand myself without sharing this on this occasion. As he says, what I want is muscles of iron, nerves of steel, inside which dwells a mind of the same material as that of which the thunderbolt is made. A quote which not only inspires us but channelizes a mirror to the road of reflecting our thoughts. I kind of feel a turbulence over here. I'm sure the heartbeats have gone up and everyone is eager to sink into the depth of knowledge. So let us not prolong the agony of waiting. Let's begin with the event. For that, I call upon Aparna of S3 BBA, and I would like to hand over the spotlight to her. Aparna, please.
Thank you, Sneha. So, I am Aparna Vijay Shankar from S3 BBA. As a part of National Youth Day, we are planning to discuss 3 different topics. Before getting into the topic, we have to follow certain rules and regulations. So, the time allotted for Group 1 and Group 2 will 15 minutes, and for Team 3 will be 20 minutes because of their content. So, you have to conclude your points within that time period. When the time is up, we will play an alarm. So participants should switch on your camera while you are speaking. So we can start the discussion. Firstly, I would like to call upon Kalyan from S1 ELC. Kalyan.
Namashivaya all. I'm going to talk about Swamiji speech told by Swamiji at Dhaka. Swamiji has wandered many civilized countries in the West, and he had come to Eastern Bengal, which was his own motherland, to acquire an intimate knowledge. After traveling all Western countries, he left. He felt gratified when he saw majestic rivers, wide fertile plains, and picturesque villages, which are in his own village. So, what I learned is motherland itself provides an intimate knowledge, and wherever we go, we shouldn't forget beauty and charm of our own motherland. We need to be grateful to our motherland, and I'm concluding with this, passing over to my teammates, Nam- Namashiva.
So thank you, Kalyan. Next, I will call upon Vandana from S3 BPA.
Okay, so thank you, Aparna. So from the lecture which was given by Swamiji, I was able to find both the beautiful message and the beauty of our religion, which is Hinduism. So Swamiji himself says that he was able to find the beauty of his own village only after visiting different parts of the world. In the same way, he talked about Hinduism. This shows us that even though he had a religion of his own, he had begged at the doors of other religion. But only after a very long time, like spending a really long time, he was able to figure out the beauty and grace of his own religion. And he felt that his own religion, Hinduism, was the most satisfactory of all of them. On seeing this, I felt that we should learn to cherish what we have. I mean, like, we should find the beauty in what is with us rather than traveling all around the world in search of what spirituality or in search of satisfaction, which actually we will never get. I think that if we visit different parts of the world, or even if we go to the most beautiful place in the entire world, at the end of the day, the only place that where we would feel safe and comfortable is our own home, right? So as we all can see, our current generation, it is running behind the Western culture. We are so obsessed with the Western culture to the point that we are forgetting our own roots. We are forgetting our customs, our rituals, our values, culture, everything. So I think that we should find beauty in what we already have. Thank you.
So thank you, Vandana. So I will call upon Sri Lakshmi from S3 in MA English Literature.
Thank you, Aparna. So, in the present scenario, there are actually reformers who want to reform for a good cause, like Swamiji himself. And there is the other one, who tries to put down our religion into nothing but debris. Some of them are undoubtedly compassionate, but a lot of them actually behave very stupidly without knowing what's wrong. Reformers of this class are very enthusiastic in bringing about foreign thoughts and ideas into our religion. They take the word idolatry and claim Hinduism isn't true. This isn't the worst part after all. The people who claim Hinduism to be idolatry never try to find out what the term actually means, if it's good or if it's bad. This is not to be considered a brave attempt, like speaking trash about one's own belief and fixating it to be not true after all they did was polluting the real side of the religion itself and with all the foreign ideologies. The other class is the ones which questions the existence of God the Almighty himself and with all the theories. This category actually intends in giving some scientific explanations for every Hindu rituals and traditions by merely talking about some electricity, magnetism, etc. He wasn't actually trying to attack the science or the advancement in technologies, but he was often worried about the people becoming themselves the machines in this very machine age. Swamiji even have foreseen the fact that maybe someday people even might lose faith in God and they will just define God to be some mass of electrical vibrations. After all these negativities, he still adds to the well-being of his people, which clearly shows how kind he was. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Lakshmi. I would like to call upon Gayatri from S1 CSC.
Thank you, Aparna. There are groups of people who want to believe in God and they want God as they want the Atma. These people say that there will be no universe with no pain and suffering. And these groups of people think that they can attain moksha by bath in holy river Ganga. And people think that they believe devoting one god like a Shiva, Rama, and Vishnu. By praying them, they can gain moksha. Moksha is a place you can have no pain, no problems, and no sufferings. Like there are three things in the difficult to obtain, and they obtained by the grace of God. The three things are human birth, getting moksha, and getting soul once. The first thing needed as that is humanity of a human life. Because it is the only thing to attain moksha. And the next is Mukta Asana. This is burning desire or realization to gain the knowledge which differ from the different states in life. Means strong desire of moksha with the realization of God is impossible. When the most intense desire to see God comes, then they are interlied to the greater or greatest. And another most important thing to gain knowledge is meeting great people and also for burning desire. To get knowledge, God are not sufficient, the initiating of Guru. Is needed because it brings connection with a good source of power and it will be continued by the generations from one Guru to other. Devotee must seek attention of Guru as his philosopher. We can say that Guru is a part of his spirituality. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri. So I call upon Sneha from S3 BCA DS.
Thank you, Aparna. So there is this quote that Swami says, where there is Rama, there is no Kama. Where there is Kama, there Rama is not there. Night and day can never exist together. So these are, as Swami says, the voices of the ancient sages who proclaim to us that if you desire to attain God, you will have to renounce Kama, Kanchana. The word Kama means lust and the word Kanchana means money or possession. So this reminds me of the conversations and dialogues from the diary of Sharat Chandra Chakravarti. As Sri Ramakrishna once said, a man cannot progress far towards religious realization unless he first relinquishes kama kanchana, that is lust and greed. If so, what will if that happens, what will the householder's life be? For their whole minds are set on these two things, right? So, well, it is true that the mind can never turn to God until the desire for lust and wealth is gone from it. But the man, uh, be it a householder or a sannyasin, he says, Swamiji says, knows this for a fact that as long as the mind is caught in these, so long true devotion, firmness, and shraddha can never come. Now, there is this question that might come to our mind, then what is the way? So this Swamiji actually says, to satisfy our smaller desires and have done with them forever, and to relinquish the greater ones by discrimination, this is the way. Without renunciation, we cannot realize God. There is the saying, Yadhi Brahma Swayam Vadet. Once again, Yadi Brahma Swayam Vadet, which means even if Brahma himself enjoined otherwise. Now again we might have another question, what about sannyasins? Are they all able to relinquish lust and love for riches fully? Um, well, he says sannyasins are on a path of renunciation. They have taken the field at least to fight for the goal. But householders, on the other hand, having no knowledge as yet of the danger that comes through lust and greed, do not even attempt to realize the self that they must struggle to get rid of. So this is the idea that has not yet entered their minds. Also, I like to conclude by saying a quote that the man has reached immortality who is distributed by nothing material. That's by Swami Vivekananda.
Thank you, Sneha. So I will call upon Shankar Mahadev from S3 BBA.
Thank you, Aparna. According to Swamiji, he is pointing out that those who merely read the scriptures will only become parrots and not pandits. Merely book-read pundits are not aware about what they are doing. Everyone wishes to become gurus nowadays. A guru must be a person with ocean of mercy without reason and not impart religious teachings with a view of gaining name or fame or anything pertaining to selfish interest. Such is a guru, says Shruti. When spiritual union is established with such a guru, then comes realization of God. Then God vision becomes easy of attainment. Even if a person is having a burning thirst for God or have gained the Guru, unless you are along with his Bahasa. So, according to Swamiji's perception, Hindus, as descendants of the glorious Aryans, do not forget the great deal of our religion. From the beginning of the lecture itself, Swamiji explains about the beauty of his land. From this, we can understand his love and compassion towards the land he has born and brought up in. And also, it will be quite unfavorable if foreign or European modes of life and culture are replaced with our Indian culture. Actually, it will be a great mistake of excluding our great motherland. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar. So I would like to call upon Jitesh from S3 EEE.
Namaskar. Uh, I am going to talk about the context. He who is versed in the Vedas without taint. Taint means imperfections. Without taint means flawless. This is said by Shrutriya. Shrutriya is a person who is well known about Shastra, sciences, and also he knows beyond that, and some secrets behind is not yet published. Then he adds a context that reading merely the various scriptures, they have become only parrots, not pandits. It means that we know about parrots. They just say the same thing repeatedly. They do not know what it really means. So Swamiji says that the pandits should not be like that. Just they want to know the topic very well. And he's adding about shastras. Shastra means even a single word gives so many knowledges, in-depth knowledges. And also he's adding akamahata. Akamahata means akam. It's a combination of a Sanskrit word which means akam and hatha, which really means that it is unaffected desire. Means the desire should not be affected. Then Guru, about Guru, he is saying that Guru is an ocean of mercy without reasons, and he could not be a selfish, or he could not differentiate between the religions and like that. Where a guru become a guru when the spiritual relationship comes between those two. That's all about that context says by Guru. Namaskar.
Thank you, Jitesh. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your idea. So I would like to conclude by saying that, the ultimate goal of Hindus goes beyond the beyond the samsara. We Hindus are meant to go beyond everything. Even the phenomenal existence. And finally, we realize that Satchidananda Brahman. So thank you. So hand over to Usha.
Thanks, Aparna. And my name is Usha Gayatri. I'm Shwayar, and I'm from S3 Integrated MA English Literature. So here we are going to discuss our next topic, the influence of Indian spiritual thought in England. So I will welcome Prashant sir and his group for further discussion. Sir, please.
Yeah, Namaskar, Usha. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Team Ayut. As we start, I would like to request our team members, Anand and Advait, to be ready. So Advait, would you mind, starting the presentation? Please share the screen. And our team name is Sat Vivek. Yeah. So Team Sat Vivek, please get started with Advait. Thank you so much. Advait?
Om Namah Shivaya. I'm Advait from S1 Tripoli. Today, we'll be walking through the topic of the influence of Indian spiritual thoughts in England. Swami Vivekananda, the spiritual leader of India, who reintroduced the Indian philosophies of Vedanta and Yoga to the Western world. Miss Margaret Elizabeth Noble, also known as Sister Nivedita, was an Irish teacher who was inspired greatly by the visit of Swamiji in London in 1895, and she travelled back to Calcutta along with Swami Vivekananda. On 11th of March 1898, at Star Theatre in Calcutta, Swami Vivekananda delivered a speech while introducing Sister Nivedita. Before beginning, let's start by knowing what Advaita means. Adi Shankaracharya was an Indian philosopher from 8th century who is responsible for consolidating the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta. The word Advaita means not to or non-duality. All that we know and can know is duality, which is the very basis of creation. Now I hand over to Anand, who will walk us through what Swami Vivekananda conveyed to us during his speech.
Thank you, Advait. So, hello, I'm Anand from History Integrated MA English, and I would like to speak about the content of the speech uh, given by Swami Vivekananda, in which he states about all the developments are because of the beautiful race, which he mentions as the Anglo-Saxon race, and also he mentions about his experiences where he found out the influence of Hinduism or Indian culture in East, mostly in Asiatic countries, where countries like China, Thailand, where in Buddhist temples we find carvings of Hindu mantras or carvings of Hindu gods, and the mantras are mainly carved in the old Bengali language, and also in West, the influences not so much, but also prevalent. So that's what I have to say about the influence and about the Anglo-Saxon race. So now I hand over the presentation to Manav. Thank you.
Namaskar everyone. This is Manav, S1 CSE batch, and I'll be continuing the talk. Advait, could you go to the next slide? Yeah. So Swamiji feels that Indians think that there is no power left for expression. That is, gradually it came to pass that our own force of expression did not manifest itself before the world. As a result of which, we worked to hide everything we had. That is, it began from the individual, and then it ended up by becoming a national habit of hiding. There is such a lack of power of expression with us that we are considered as a dead nation. The main reason and the backbone of Western civilization is expansion and expression. Swamiji feels that and says that we should teach our nation to once again to express ourselves so that the hidden treasures of our country can be conveyed to the rest of the world. So by that, I conclude my presentation and I call upon Shahid to continue. Thank you.
Good evening everyone, I am Shahid from East Tibet. Here I talk about the two great leaders from West. They are Miss Mullah and Mrs. Besant from England. They gave their whole life to work for good for India, and they also have says that they have great facility here, but we should make sure message here. But here being respond to, they are belongs to very good family. She gave her whole life out of love of India, had given whole life every one of our family with name noble and English women. Also given meet a platform of two ladies from America. They are assured that they can also have devote life to their good and poor countries. Thank you.
Namaskar all. This is Bhavani from S1 Integrated MSc Maths. So, the teachings of Swami Vivekananda. The difference in Indian thoughts when comparing to the West. The Indian thinks differently from the rest of the world. For instance, let's take education. Now we follow the Western culture, that is, read, write, and arithmetic in most of the schools and colleges. But even before the Western education, we had the Indian education system, which followed by head, by hand, and by heart. Oh man, have faith in yourself. By this, Swami Vivekananda says that we have to have faith in ourselves. He also says that we forget to have faith in ourselves. Ultimately, this leads for losing faith in God. Soul is eternal and remain through all eternity. These are the teachings of Upanishads. Before I say what Upanishads gives, I will say what is Upanishad. Upanishads means sitting down near. Those days, the students sit near the Guru and listen to their teaching. So that is what Upanishad means. Upanishads teach us a lot. Each of the Vedas are assigned with different Upanishads. And learn arts from the West, teach them the religion and spirituality. We can make us strong only through mutual cooperation. From this, Swami says that we must teach the West arts and science, and uh, we must teach them religion and spirituality so that we have a mutual cooperation and a friendship built upon them, and no one gets degraded. Thank you. And now I hand it over to Vijay Lakshmi.
Namaskar, I am Vijay Lakshmi. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Please continue.
Vijayalakshmi, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
No, I have facing a network issue. Sorry for that. Am I audible now? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, Namaskar, I am Vijay Lakshmi. I'm of BCA S3 BCA Data Science. And according to Swami Vivekananda, he suggested that trying to give up jealousy and conceit and learn how to work untidily for others. And he said that purity and patience and perseverance overcome all the obstacles. And taking courage and work on. Patience and steady work are the only way to get success. And according to Swami Vivekananda, the most vital and essential quality needed to succeed in life is Shraddha. And Shraddha is the mental attitude constituted primarily of sincerity of purpose, humility, reverence, and faith. And according to Swami Vivekananda, the vital and essential quality needed to succeed in Shraddha. And to talk about bond of Maya, it's a simple factor of our life which we experience in our daily life. And Maya is a fact which just exists but which does not have any reason. Maya is a delusionary force that conceals any reality, or rather it is the name of all the contradictions that we see around. And our Indian civilization is the oldest in the world and is rich storehouse of spiritual knowledge and wisdom. And in fact, spirituality is the soul of India, and people from all over the world come to our country to explore spirituality. The meaning of spirituality varies from people to people, but in general sense, spirituality means an understanding of our own self and the world around us. And an important aspect of spirituality is finding the meaning and purpose of our life. Whereas religions lay stress on customs, rites, and rituals, spirituality is mostly focused on our inner life. Now may I invite Prashant sir to give a contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijayalakshmi. Namashwaya. Moving to the final slide, I'm Prashant Suravajila. I'm a principal scientist at Amrita School of Biotechnology. So, team Satvivek, we opine, from this wonderful gist, saying that there is only one mantra that ensures that we're all set in one mind. That is what we call it as Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. But if you really take back, one of the major proponents of a spiritualistic school of thought that Swami has propounded was that began from his 1893 speech in Chicago, where he sets the tone by saying, "Brothers and sisters of America." And after 5 years from then, in 1898, when this speech was pronounced, there was actually a kind of a spiritual awakening between these 5 years. And that particular essence has given us a shape, not only in terms of the wonderful spiritualistic thought, but it has also aroused a kind of an inner awakening amongst brethren in both the West and as well as in the East. But as we all also convey the kind of meaning of this theme for this year, it's all in the mind. It's all in the faith. That's what Swami says. He says that throughout India there runs a kind of a cordial string of eternal faith, and this particular faith will allow us to reach the pinnacle of success, and it will also allow us to reach a perfect state of humanity. So let's hope that as we say Om, A-U-M, we should also say Om, O-M-E, Om, which means many. So let's all, speak the mind of spirituality. Let's ensure that, we all converge by saying Om, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you so much. We'd like to take this opportunity in thanking Revered Amma and Team Ayuth for giving us this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we need to acknowledge the work that our ancestors did shape India. This discussion helped us remind how much the world owes to India and its spiritual values. So thank you so much, sir, and my friends. You did great discussion. Now I hand over to Gokul Chata. Chata, please.
Hold on. Yeah, Om Namah Shivaya. My name is Gokul, and my team consists of myself, Srita, Sri Harshita, Atul, and Rashmi. So today, this evening, we are going to discuss about the lecture named "The Sages of India" from Swami Vivekananda's work, Lectures from Almora to Columbia. So in this lecture, Swamiji wants to shed some light on the various sages or rishis that lived in our country, and he's actually presenting a study of these sages and wants to share it with us. So I'll be moderating this discussion, and I hope you all can gain some insights from what we share. So I'll start off this discussion by sharing something important that I have learned from this. It's just one thing. So it's about our scriptures. So Swamiji says that there are two ideal truths in our scripture, and I'm going to convey what are these two sets of truth and what are the differences between them. So the first one is called eternal truth, and the second one is kind of like a subordinate to eternal truth. And eternal truth is known as Shrutis. So the Shrutis or eternal truths discuss about the nature of the soul, the relationship between God and the soul, and all the framework and the goal of humanity has been discussed here. And now the second set of truths are called Smritis. they are subordinate to eternal truth or Shruti. So whenever there is a clash between these two texts, always the Shruti is given priority. That is, Shruti is having the authority over everything. Now, what are Shruti and Smriti texts? Our Vedas are the Shruti texts, whereas the texts like Manusmriti, Narada Smriti are Smriti texts. And Shruti means something which was heard, and Smriti means something which was remembered. And the authority of Shruti are our great sages and rishis, because they see the truth, and it is not their ideas, they are just bringing out the truth and spreading it to others. Now, all that is required to lead the soul to perfection is given in the Shrutis. However, the details, some of the details were left out, and these have been supplied by the Smriti texts. And we also have to understand that Smriti changes from time to time, but then Shruti is eternal. And one way we can distinguish between these two texts is how the texts are written, by understanding the personal or impersonal nature. In Shruti texts, there is very little mention of any personalities or incarnations or the glory of any personal identities. Whereas in Smriti, we have impressive incarnations like Krishna, Rama, even Buddha, etc. So this means that Shruti is impersonal. It does not discuss about any incarnations or personalities or a personal god. Whereas Smriti is personal and discusses about incarnations. There are details about their glories and achievements and their life. So that's kind of a new knowledge for me, something which I didn't know before. So now let's hear what my friends have learned from this lecture. And I call upon Rashmi to share her thoughts next. Over to you, Rashmi.
Namaskar, I'm Rishmi from SY Intimacy Mathematics. Today, I would like to tell you about Hinduism and the comparison of Hinduism with other religions done by Swami Vivekananda in his speech, which found interesting for me. So, we all know that our religion, Hinduism, is the oldest religion in the world. Many ancient cultures has been extended, but our culture is immortal and its glory is increasing by day. And the peculiarity that we need to understand about Hinduism is the Hinduism preaches impersonal personal God. That is, it speaks any amount of impersonal laws plus any amount of personality. That is, we can say that the foundation of Hinduism is Vedas. That is perfectly impersonal, and the persons come in Puranas and Smritis, and we call them as avataras or the incarnation of God. So this is symbolized as personal gods. And when we observe all the religions in the world, we can find some similarities. That is, all these religions are dependent on the life of some personal founder. That is, every religion is founded by each and every person. So that religion is dependent on his or her life. For example, Christianity is built upon the life of Jesus Christ, Buddhism is built upon the life of Buddha, and Jainism upon Jinnah, and so on. So, in most probably, in this religion, there occur some fights about historical evidences of these um, great personalities or the sages or the prophets of this religion. If there is no immense evidence for that, then there would be clashes and this will make the religion tumbles down. But Hinduism escapes from these problems because in Hinduism we concentrate on principles and the values. other than any person. So it strengthens Hinduism. And our first principle conveys that everything necessary for a man to be perfect and for attaining freedom, all the knowledge for these will include in Vedas. And we cannot find anything new anything new knowledge other than in the Vedas. And our goal or the goal of all knowledge is to attain perfect unity, and it is impossible to go beyond unity, and this has been reached through Vedas. People had to be guided from time to time, as humans are not hereditarily gained the knowledge. So we need to study. So we should be guided by someone for some circumstances, for some environment, for some place or time. So we need great teachers and great sages. So they will come according to the circumstances or time. And this message is clearly mentioned in Gita also by Sri Krishna by saying, "Whenever virtue subsides and irreligion prevails, I create myself for the protection of the good and the destruction of the immortality. I am coming from time to time." And also, Swami Vivekananda conveys us that our claim should be that Vedanta only can be the universal religion because it teaches about about principles and values, not on persons, and also states that no religion can be built upon person, and that can be followed by all type of human beings in the world. And these points stuck in my mind while reading this speech, and what we can understand what my teammates has understand from that speech also. So I'm concluding here. Thank you.
Kashmi. So, what you said answers the questions of the age-old question: why do Hindus worship these many gods? And the answer is obviously simple. This teaching from Swamiji solves that question, because our religion is not based on a particular personality or a particular incarnation. It's based on the Vedic principles, Vedanta. So even in this textbook, it has written that Krishna is not the authority of Vedas. Rather, the Vedas are the authority of Krishna. So that's how our culture follows. That's why our culture has lots of gods, but then it is based on Vedanta alone. And now let's move on to Sri Harshita. Let's hear what she has to say. Over to you, Sri Harshita.
Namaskar. I am Harshita from S1 CSC batch, and I am here to share my thoughts on a question that had been stuck in my mind since I was little. That why do we worship an idol and believe that there is God in it, whereas some people tell there is God within ourselves and we should realize it. Many people believed and realized that there is God within themselves and gained immense supreme knowledge from the world, and we call them sages and Brahmins. And we who are searching for God see them as the incarnation of God themselves. In Vedas, it says, "Vain are your fights and your quarrels. Have you seen God whom you want to preach? If you have not seen, vain is your preaching. You do not know what you say. And if you have seen God, you will not quarrel. Your very face will shine." And following this, an ancient Upanishad sent his son out to learn about Brahman, and the child came back, and the father asked, "What did you learn?" The child replied that he had learned so many sciences, but the father said, "That is nothing, go back." And the son went back, and when he returned again, the father asked the same question, and the child gave the same answer. Once more he had to go back, and the next time he came, his whole face was shining, and his father stood up and declared, "I, Today, my child, your face shines like a knower of Brahman, the one who realized and understood God and found the very supreme God within themselves. When you know God, your very face will be changed, your voice will be changed, your whole appearance will be changed. In this story, we may think that we have to be a sage or a Brahmin or have to meet them to understand God, whereas it is quite opposite. Now we can also try to search God in ourselves and realize it. But we need a personality who we can look up to. And from the very earliest times, our sages have realized of this fact that the vast majority of mankind require a personality.
So Vivekananda is saying that it is actually okay to worship a personal God or like an incarnation or personality. It's right. That's what he says.
Yes, they must have a personal God in some form or the other. The very Buddha who declared against the existence of a personal God had not died 50 years before his disciples manufactured a personal God out of him. The personal God is necessary, and at the same time, we know that instead of worshipping imaginary personal God, it is better to worship a personality in the form of a personal God. According to me, Sri Krishna is much greater than any idea of God you or I can have. Buddha is much higher idea, a more living and idolized idea. This our sages knew and therefore left it open to all Indian people to worship such great personages, such incarnations in the form of idols for us to look up to and worship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Harshida. Again, like you are solving another question about idol worship or worshiping a personality or incarnation. So now we know that in our religion, to worship any incarnation or personal gods, and that is the speciality of Vedanta religion, and that's what Vivekananda ji is telling us. Now let's move over to Srita, and let's hear what she has to say. Over to you, Srita.
Namaskar. My name is Rita Lakshmi, S1 AAA student, and we are in a discussion on the topic Sages of India. Starting from Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said that everything happens for a cause or a good reason. Krishna did everything but without any attachment. He was in the world but not of it. Do all work but without attachment. Work for workers' sake, love for love's sake, duty for duty's sake, never for yourself. In a sense, Krishna is a symbol for supreme beauty and bliss of life. He teaches us to live, to stay in a union with God. He also tells us to do our dharma, our designated duty in regard to work. Life is not exactly a bed of roses. It is full of ups and downs. It's a mixture of roses as well as thorns. With the right approach, all of us can deal with all adverse things in our life. Rama symbolized the model of reason, right action, desirable virtues. Even though he knew he was strong enough, but he doesn't show his strength. Rama made sure that each and every creation contribute. A difficult task otherwise was made easy by a teamwork. Sita, the silent power of a sacrifice and suffering, is known for her dedication, self-sacrifice, courage, and purity. Devi Sita is indeed ideal example of a woman and possesses all the good qualities that a traditional Indian woman is expected to possess. She was the ideal daughter to her parents, ideal wife to her husband Rama, and the ideal mother to her twin Lavakusha. Devi Sita had to undergo a lot of trials and tribulations in her married life, and it was her courage and adherence to Dharma that finally made her the ultimate winner. Through her life story, Sita showed how a strong woman should be, that she never go off her principle in her life.
Okay, thank you, Srita, and that was a wonderful explanation about the great sages like Krishna Rama, Sita, and all. Actually, Vivekananda ji calls these incarnations as great rishis or sages because they have attained perfection. And there was a really important thing that Swamiji wanted to stress on, and that is from Krishna's teaching to work for work's sake, to love for love's sake, and to do duty for duty's sake. Not expecting anything in return, just do it for its own sake. And yeah, that's an important thing I found out from this part of the text. So now we have heard about the old sages or rishis like Rama, Krishna, Buddha, and all. Now I think Atul can tell us about the modern day sages in our country. Over to you, Atul. Atul, Namshaya, you're muted.
Okay, now we discuss about sages in India, that is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Ramanuja, and Shankaracharya. We all know, in ancient times, India was one of the most advanced nations in the world. India has many valuable contributions to the world. Centuries ago, Indian sages had a kind of knowledge which many modern scientists lack. You know, there was a man who declared, I will come never which you subsides, come again at this time. The manifestation was in the south and approached the young Brahman whom, in the age of 16, completed all his writings, the marvelous boy Shankaracharya. His writings and the wonders of the modern world, his work in India is a reconquest of the Buddhist degeneration by the Vedanta. Shankara became a great philosopher and showed that the real essence of Buddhism and that of the Vedanta are not very different. Next, Ramanuja. He was an Indian philosopher, Hindu theologian, social reformer, and one of the most exponents of Hinduism. His philosophical foundation for devotionalism were influenced in Bhakti movement. As we know, he opened the door to the highest spiritual worship from the Brahmin to Pariyah, and he also came up with a new method of worship. This was the main work of Ramanuja. Moreover, he is an opening door of spirituality to everyone at his time and has been a watchword for all the prophets succeeding Ramanuja before and after Shankara. Now we will move into the Guru of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who died and who born in 1836, was an Indian Hindu mystic and a religious leader in 19th century. Ramakrishna drew from the religious approach, including devotion towards the goddess Kali and observation of elements from Tantra, Bhakti, Vaishnava, and the Advaita Vedanta. He was a man who would see God in every human being, one who would keep for the poor, work for the poor, work for the weak, for the outcast of the downtrodden, for everyone in the world, and whose grand brilliant intellect would conceive of such noble thoughts and bring a marvelous harmony. His life works was full of Western thoughts, and we consider him as an intellectual giant. His teachings are most beneficial in the present time even. You know, he also plays a leading role in the modern revival of Hinduism in India, and the modern movement in his has deeply influenced the modern history of India. He is a person who came from nothing and worshipped, and now he is worshipped by thousands and thousands of people, even from our country and in Europe and America. So there are many sages in our country who contributed to the development of our nation and of the upliftment of our nation. But still, there are many sages who, as a person, as I don't know, and even you, as what I want to say to you people, it's as being a new generation, it will be a very much inspiration for us if we go through their works and attain their works and their values to real life. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul, and thank you for breaking us through the modern day rishis like Shankaracharya, Ramanuja, and even Swamiji's Guru, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And I would like to point out that Vivekananda was extremely devoted to his Guru, and he says, whatever knowledge he has shared with everyone is from his guru alone, and whatever mistakes or foolishness he has said is from himself only, like from Vivekananda only. And I think that's what we all must be like. Like how many IITians who are now CEOs of big companies in America praise their professors. So this is why Swamiji's talks are so important for us. And I also want to share another important point that Vivekananda ji wants us to do. He wants us to become like rishis. Now, before reading this, I used to think that being a rishi meant that we need to wear saffron clothes, wear a rudraksha and live in the forest and do hard tapas. But it's not like that. Rishi means someone who is a seer of thoughts and who has realized the spiritual truths. And Swamiji says all these Vedas and scriptures are nothing but preparations for us to become that goal of being a Rishi. And this is what he wants us to be, like the great Rama, Krishna, and Shankaracharya, and so on. And so, by sharing this important message from Vivekananda to the youth, I want to conclude my words, and I want to conclude this discussion also. I hope this discussion was fruitful to you, and I hope everyone has gathered some insights from our discussion. I'll now pass it on to the event host. Thank you, and Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Gokul. Okay, by the way, the event isn't over yet. We have something got for you. A much of an activity, if you can call it like that. Even though your cameras are turned off, I could smell curiosity in the air. Don't worry, trust me, it would be fun. But before that, we have someone special today. Professor Balakrishnan Shankar sir, our very own Bala sir, Dean of Amritapuri campus. We are honored with your presence, sir. I would like to welcome sir to the spotlight, and if possible, sir, could you share some thoughts about youth and Youth Day to the youth? Sir, please.
Namaste, everybody. Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know you'll ask me to talk, otherwise I wouldn't have come. But okay. Very nice to hear all of you talk and discuss this very beautiful book, Lectures from Colombo to Almora. I don't have much to say because today there is a function here and we are all in a bit of a rush. Amrita is giving this honorary doctorate to a couple of people today, to Jeffrey Sachs and to the Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi. So we have to go for that event. Otherwise, I would have sat and told you a bit more about Swami Vivekananda's life story. Another day, maybe we can get together and I will share with you Swamiji's life story or some interesting points from there. But very nice. I'm very happy to see all of you talk about lectures from Colombo to Almora, especially this particular book. Because I'll just leave with just one sentence. In this particular book, Swamiji, Swamiji had just gone to the US. He had taken the world by storm. He had given his epic address in 1893 in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, and he had returned. And those days, even his brother disciples who you just knew of him as Naren, they didn't know that their beloved Naren had become the famous Swami Vivekananda until a letter came from the West saying that yes, our beloved Naren is the one who is now world famous as Swami Vivekananda. So by the time he came back, word had spread all over India that a great, what shall I say, an orator, a great sage has burst upon the scene. And that was the time when, everybody around the world, especially India, was steeped under the British rule. And everybody thought India was like a dead country, useless country. We are just a bunch of barbarians. We are just a bunch of superstitious idolaters. This is what people called us. You must understand that people called us all sorts of things. You'll be shocked if you read what people, thought we were. It was just, this country is just a bunch of superstitious people, all Hinduism just bunk, all that kind of thoughts were what was going on in the Western mind. deliberately, because that was a way the British were using that as a method to intellectually subjugate the people here. But then what happened was when Swami Vivekananda went there and took the world by storm, literally. Harvard gave him Harvard offered him a professorship, and scientists were shocked because Swamiji was talking about science and Vedanta and parallels between science and spirituality and Sanatana Dharma. And in fact, he inspired Nikola Tesla. I think I've told you all this before, some of you before. So he was, and that was the time then the West suddenly woke up to India's greatness and suddenly realized that, there is so much wisdom and greatness in India. And that was when Indians themselves, woke up to India's greatness. That's exactly what happened. And so the entire India was galvanized by Swamiji. And that was how the Indian national movement itself started. Because there was that time when India realized that we are also great, we don't have to listen, we don't have to be slaves of another country. So in many ways, Swami Vivekananda is a father of the nation. He spurred the Indian national movement actually. Then anyway, so when he came back, and there was a huge crowd to receive him in Colombo, and that is this, and then his lectures from Colombo to Almora. That is this book on this Colombo to Almora lectures. It's a very interesting sentence that he says in the opening chapter of that book. He says, when he came to Colombo and everybody was receiving him, he says, remember that all this huge crowd, this entire India has gathered not to receive a king or a great conqueror or a great warrior, but you have gathered here to honor and receive a penniless beggar, a sannyasin, one who doesn't have a 2 paisa in his hand, who just has a pair of clothes. And that is India's greatness. Because we put our greatness, we put our priorities. This is the only country that values spiritual ideals so much that we gather to celebrate a penniless beggar. That's what Swami Vivekananda called himself. Remember, you have gathered here to honor a sannyasi, a penniless beggar with just 2 pairs of clothes and no money, nothing. Not a king or a conqueror or any great leader. So that was India's greatness. And that continues to be India's greatness. So really, if you read lectures from Colombo to Almora, and then there's another lecture called My Plan of Campaign, Swamiji's, and his thoughts about India, you will just love India. Anybody who loves India needs to read this book, Lectures from Colombo to Almora. And they'll be so inspired. And he inspired the youth. That is why we celebrate this as Youth Day. He galvanized the country. He started the Indian national movement. He inspired Tesla. Even IISc, Jamshedji Tata was also inspired by Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda met Tata, who founded IISc. Right? IISc is India's foremost institute in research. And Jamshedji Tata was going abroad to get some scientific work done. Then he asked, why can't we start Swami Vivekananda? He met Swami Vivekananda on the boat, on the ship. Those days, no planes. Why can't you start the same thing in India? Why can't we have a set of Indians coming together and do that? And that's how IISc started. So really, in many ways, it was Swami Vivekananda who woke us up and, brought the country back on its feet and galvanized the youth. And his words still reverberate today. And Amma spoke beautifully on his the 100th anniversary in Delhi. His work continues today through modern saints like Amma. And I'm so happy that Ayodhya set up this lecture series. This discussion on this lectures from Colombo to Almora, and very happy to hear most of you. And I wish you have many more such discussions. I wish you all the best, and continue to read Swami Vivekananda, and you will see. It'll galvanize you completely. It will completely inspire you, like nothing else has done. I think Swamiji is a great inspirer for the youth. His words are tremendously powerful, And so, with that, that's all I have to say now. And thank you all. Thank you for this nice discussion. Thank you and congrats to Ayud. I look forward to many more such events. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for the enlightening words. Feels good that we didn't tell you beforehand about the talk, or how else we have gotten a chance to hear your wise words on this special occasion. Now, without much ado, let's move on to the special segment. For that, we have Ashwati, who would be escorting you through the activity. Ashwati, please.
Thank you, Sneha. So, Namshivaya, myself Ashwati from S3 Integrated MSc Physics. Now we have a small interactive session here. It's a quiz session. So the session is open for everybody, all the participants from the discussion as well as our audience present here. So we'll be asking you one question, and if you know the answer, you can raise your hand virtually. Here's the first question. Vivekananda is the maker of modern India. Who said this? I'll repeat the question once again. Vivekananda is the maker of modern India. Who said this?
Hello.
Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose.
Okay. Okay. That's the right answer. Can I know who is the one who answered here?
Arshananda.
Okay. That was the right answer, Arshananda. Okay. So you can raise your hands if you know the answer. Coming to the second question. What was the question that Swami Vivekananda asked Sri Ramakrishna at their first meeting? What was the question that Swami Vivekananda asked Sri Ramakrishna at their first meeting?
How to meet God, or like that, question related like that.
Okay, who was that?
Bhargava Sai.
Okay, that was the right answer, Bhargava. The question was, have you seen God? Coming to the third question. Where did Swamiji live during the last years of his life? I'll repeat it once again. Where did Swamiji live during the last years of his life?
In his Guru's ashram.
Belur Math, Bengal.
Who was the one who answered Belur?
Arshananda.
Okay, the answer is Belur Math. So the fourth question. Name the Kali temple visited by Swami Vivekananda in Kerala. I'll repeat it once again. There is a temple in Kerala, a Kali temple that Swami Vivekananda visited. Name the temple.
Kali temple, Kodungalur.
May I know who is the one?
Vandana.
Okay, that was the right answer. Kodungalur Kali temple. Now to the fifth question. What society was established by Swami Vivekananda in New York? What society was established by Swami Vivekananda in New York?
Vedanta Society of New York.
Sorry, Gokul.
Vedanta Society of New York.
Yeah, that's right. Vedanta Society is the society which was established by Swami Vivekananda. Now coming to the sixth question. In which year Swami Vivekananda established Ramakrishna Mission? I guess this one is the easiest. Do we have any hand raised here? Yes.
Uh, 1897.
Yeah, Ashananda is correct. It's 1897 that Swami Vivekananda has established Ramakrishna Mission. Now, seventh question. Which festival was Swami Vivekananda born? On which festival was Swami Vivekananda born? Any hand raises?
Makar Sankranti.
Yeah, I guess Ashananda is well known about Swami Vivekananda. That's the right answer. Swamiji was born on Makar Sankranti. Coming to the eighth question. In which city in USA a street is named after Swamiji? In which city in USA a street is named after Swami Vivekananda?
Chicago.
Chicago.
It is Chicago. Do you know the street
Michigan
name?
Avenue. Michigan Avenue.
Yes, Prashant sir, do you have an answer?
Michigan Avenue.
Yeah, it's Las Salle, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It could be Las Salle.
It's the Chicago Swami Vivekananda way. So I'll go to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ninth
I don't.
question.
Yeah, it could be Las Salle. That is what my wild guess is. Yeah.
Coming to the ninth question, who said about Swami Vivekananda as saved Hinduism, saved India? I'll repeat the question once again. Who said about Swami
Bal
Vivekananda?
Gangadhar Tilak ji.
Sorry?
Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji.
No, that's not the answer.
Rajagopalachari.
Yeah, that's correct. Who was the one who answered?
Nivruti.
Nivruti. Okay, that was the right answer. Rajagopalachari was the one who described Swami Vivekananda as saved Hinduism, saved India. Now to the last question. The 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda was held in 2013. It was marked with the inauguration of a new train. Name the train. I'll repeat it once again. The 150th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda was
Vivek
held.
Express.
Yeah, that's the answer. May I know who is the one who answered the question?
Bhavani.
Bhavani Sri. That's the right answer, Bhavani. Vivek Express is the answer. So thank you guys. That was a wonderful session having you all answer the questions in the quiz. I hand it back to Sneha.
Thank you so much, Ashwati. Wow, I must say, I didn't think about this particular combination of discussion and quiz would put me into deep thinking. There is this quote again by Swami Vivekananda, like, take up one idea, make that one idea your life, think of it, dream of it, live on that idea, let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success. What he means is that the way to success is to plunge into a space of thought, either a theory or frame, an innovation, a concept or object connected with a mental representation, either clear or vague in our minds. Thank you all for joining in and actively participating in this event. I hope that Swami Vivekananda's wish of instilling basic values in the youth would never go in vain. So we can wind up with the Shanti Mantra. Om लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम. Thank you and Om Namah Shivaya to all.
Namaskar.